Hello Internet, I'm a regular guy with the Regular Guy Firearms channel. Thanks for watching. Okay, so in the last episode we talked about, well, video. I can't even really say episode, this isn't a friggin' TV show. But in the last video that I did, we talked about EDC and minimalism and how the stuff that you carry on your body, especially when talking about like self-defense and medical stuff and stuff like that, minimalism is the key, being the stuff that you carry on a day-to-day basis it should not interfere with your day-to-day life. Okay. A lot of people, I can't even really say a lot, I'd say like a dozen, maybe about a dozen-ish people had an issue with the fact that I was appendix carrying a full-sized M&P with a TLR1 and a RMR on it. Now, here's the funny thing, is that I've been carrying around a Glock 19 for a really long time. And I've been carrying this light on that gun for a while also. No one has anything to say until you look at this tiny little freaking guy right here, this little red dot right here. No one had anything to say, and then of course, once that gets on there for some reason, the light is an issue, and the fact that this is a full-size gun, even though there is a tiny bit of grip difference and a quarter-inch barrel difference on the pistol, now suddenly this whole thing is a problem. To guys that have issues with all of that, take a hike. I don't care. Mostly because this is a gun and gear review channel, okay, at its core. So I will review whatever in the hell it is that I'm going to review. And if I choose to carry it as part of the reviewing process, I'm going to do that. Okay? So that is handled. Next thing, we're going to go ahead and talk about like position of the gun on the body and whatnot. Okay? And I'm going to cover a few other things and some purposes behind different carry methods and stuff like that. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. And aside of one that I can think of, there isn't really anything that's wrong per se. It's just dependent on your lifestyle, body type, all of that stuff. Okay. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about, the traditional 4 o'clock for right-handed dudes, are basically on that right-hand side, either at 3 or drop back a little bit further back to 4 o'clock. You get that kind of deal. The advantage to that is, in all honesty, in day-to-day life with most things, it's more comfortable. And I understand why it seems to be the dominant way to carry a pistol, mostly because it's just easier to deal with on a day-to-day. Okay. Now, there are a couple of disadvantages to that. One, if you drive all the time, like if driving is part of your day-to-day life, okay. Yes, there's ways to work around it, but it is harder to get to a 4 o'clock pistol, especially with seatbelt junk in the way, than it is for other carry methods that are out there. Okay. And the thing is about that is that not only is it a little bit more difficult to get to me personally, it was a little less comfortable to sit in a car or something for a while, because it just starts to dig into that hip it pushes this way on the body and would just start to dig and all that other stuff. I'm left-handed, obviously, so it digs in on this side for me, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I carried that way for a while with a Raven Concealment Phantom. It's not a bad way to carry, really, but another thing that really irritated me about that style, me personally, was that I couldn't bend to do things. Not even because it was uncomfortable or anything like that, but because of specifically my body type. Anytime that I would bend to pick up a box or tie my shoes, or even if I'm bending to hug somebody that's just shorter than me, I'm 6 feet tall, okay, and if I'm bending to hug somebody or something like that shorter than me, it gives you a tail, And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the term tail, it's basically you're printing the pistol grip to where it looks like you have a little tail. So anytime that I would bend and do stuff, or even if I'm in like a grocery aisle or something, I felt that tail coming out because the shirt would start getting pulled in that direction. Okay, so dependent on what your body type is and stuff like that, it's also dependent on clothing too. Obviously, if I'm wearing a jacket or something like that, it's going to do that less than if I just have a regular base t-shirt on. So really that's on your personal preference and stuff. But generally speaking, it is quite a bit more comfortable to do on just a day-to-day. Now, there's a couple of people that will say, compared to appendix, which we'll get to next, that it's just slow. It's really not. That's a training issue. Either one of these carry methods, like between appendix or 4 o'clock or whatever, is something that you can get to almost equally fast. If there is one that's going to be a little bit faster, it's definitely appendix versus just a traditional method, but it's not by much, and it's really on you and your dry fire practice to make sure as to whether or not it is slow, right? So there's that. The next thing that we're going to get into is we're going to talk about appendix, and it's my preferred style of carry and stuff like that. And here's a few reasons why. First and foremost, it gets in the way of my life, personally, for me, a whole lot less. Okay. As far as, just meeting and greeting people, or I'm lifting boxes, or there was a time where I was a freaking tech at a Tire Kingdom, okay, and I'm sitting there working on stuff. It's out of the way. I don't have to worry about it printing ever. None of that stuff. I could do all of those things, and even when I was working, in the shop there, I could sit there and run my oil changes, rip off hoops, and do all kinds of other random stuff, and it wasn't really in the way. The only thing that I seem to have a problem with a Glock 19, and specifically this guy, because it is indeed a slightly larger pistol, is I seem to have a problem with tying my shoes. That's when it starts to stab a little bit, particularly on this individual handgun. This guy and this guy start to poke on both ends if I try to tie my shoes. Okay. But as far as just regular day-to-day life, it is really, really out of the way. And it's very discreet, and I can carry a full-size pistol without printing or any of that stuff, and it works great. I'm going to say if it's faster, it's a touch faster. Not a whole lot, but it's a touch faster. But the reason why I picked it was that it was just out of my day-to-day life, and I didn't have to worry about tails or printing or none of that stuff. And I could effectively get to it when I wanted to, and that works for me personally. That's why I like it. Now, obviously, just like the previous method, there are going to be like projected myths and stupidity that are talked about on the appendix carry side of the house, and this might take a little while. First and foremost, there are so many people that will sit there and make the little comment. And really, honestly, it's one of those super underinformed comments that is like, oh, I just don't like having my pistol pointed at my dick. First and foremost, and people that try to sound sophisticated after this will sit there and say, oh, well, the gun's pointed at you and that's dangerous and all of that crap, right? Here's the thing. Here's the big thing. Even if you carry on the more traditional side of the house, or small back, or ankle, or whatever, a gun's pointed at you. A gun is pointed at you, if not all the time, the vast majority of the time that you're wearing it. What it is really down to, more than anything else, is get a quality friggin' firearm and get a quality holster with a quality belt, okay? If you are afraid of the fact that your pistol will malfunction to the point where it just fires for no reason, you're terrified of your own gear. These are facts. Okay? If you're uncomfortable by that thought, and really this is one of those things where if the shoe fits, wear it. So if you're not that guy, this ain't for you, meaning this little message here. But if the shoe does fit, I hope it offends you. But Stop trying to sit there and push out advice to other people because you're afraid of your own gear. It's annoying. It's really annoying. Okay? But really, the main disadvantage to appendix, honestly, is that if you're standing up trying to tie your shoes or sitting down trying to tie your shoes or getting up fast, it's a little uncomfortable. Okay? And gym time with guns and stuff too. That sucks across the board, but if you're going to carry appendix at the gym and stuff, size it down. You know, get like a 43 or a shield or something, because that's annoying. That's really annoying. Okay, so, you know, there's that. The next one is more of a niche carry type deal. Like if your job in day-to-day life is like you're a limo driver or you're a freaking truck driver or something like that, what may work for you better than the last two options is a shoulder holster, okay, or shoulder holster carry, that type of stuff. There is a slew of people that hate on this on a constant basis, just ignoring the fact that if that's your main job, like if driving is your main job, or you're sitting down like all day and you can't move generally, and that's driving essentially, shoulder holster carry is probably better for you individually, simply because you don't have seatbelts and junk to worry about. You can wear the thing all day, sit down, drive and drive and drive and drive and drive, and you're good. You know, the only thing, and the big reason why a lot of people will sit there and hate on this, is the draw stroke, right? Look, it's one of those things where if you're going to go to a class and if you're going to do the shoulder holster carry, if they allow you to do it, and a lot of places don't because they're afraid of you, which, give them some room. I would kind of understand why, because a lot of people will sweep this away with their guns. But if you're at a place that will allow you to draw from a shoulder holster like that, I would suggest to just draw down this way, to where the gun comes straight out and we're drawing this way. Okay. Yeah, it's slower than the other two, but where it really shines, obviously, is in that niche lifestyle where that's your job and you're constantly on the move in a vehicle of some kind, you know. The next one is for the deep concealment guys, and we're talking about, you know, small back carry. Personally, I don't like that, and I can sort of understand why some guys do, but that is one of those things where it will get in the way regardless of what you do. Anytime you sit down, it's digging into your spine. I'm good. That's not something that I'm a fan of. And just getting to the thing, to me, takes entirely too long. And it could be easily supplemented by anything else. Okay. Next thing, we're going to talk about backup guns, right? Now, the two really, really popular ways to do it is either on an ankle, which if you're going to carry it on an ankle, I would advise to carry it on opposite to gun hand leg. What that means is that I'm left-handed, so I'll carry it on the inside of my right leg so that I can just take a knee, pull up the pant leg, draw, and go from there. Simply because that works fairly well. And if you're one of those dudes where that has to be your primary carry because you're in an office or something like that, you're not willing to do the tuckable carry thing, which I understand, and you ankle carry on a day-to-day there, opposite side from your gun hand on the inside of that leg. So basically, you know, you got your legs and it's on the inside of that leg, so you can pull up that pant leg, draw the gun, and go from there. Makes sense? And a lot of guys carry their backup gun or their .357 revolver or whatever on that ankle. Okay. Another method that I haven't seen too terribly much, but I understand why it makes sense to a lot of folks, is that they'll have, for instance, again, I'm left-handed, and the main pistol, you know, like the Glock 19, generally speaking, right, is appendix, and I can draw with my left hand, right? The backup gun would go right-handed just off to the right of that pistol. Makes sense? So basically, you have one holster, like or the main gun on this side, and then the backup gun on this side. And a lot of dudes will carry revolvers there too, and a lot of self-defense justifications for that. And it's not just it's not a capacity thing, or or a magazine compatibility thing. It's usually a fighting distance thing where you're putting hands on people, you're trying to get it off them, and you don't want to pull out a pistol that you can knock out a battery by pressing into somebody. So dude skins out a revolver and he can punch into that dude and shoot that fool until he stops doing the stupid crap he was doing. Makes sense. So there's a lot of different methodologies to do this. Me personally, it's one of those deals where I personally don't do that. And the reason being, honestly, is it's a lot of weight on the belt. It is. And it's a lot of forward weight on the belt. And you can have a really sturdy belt and you can still start to feel it, especially in like the hips and stuff after a while. So primary gun being something like, you know, the 19 or the M&P that I have on right now, and then the backup gun is ankle carry on the inside of the right leg, and it's a 43 or a shield that I had a while back or whatever, something like that, you know. So it is what it is. That's my perspective, and I hope that, you know, some of these things are ironed out for some of you out there that are genuinely trying to approach this with an open mind. For those of you to whom the shoe fit, I don't care what your opinion is, because all you're trying to do is start fires, and I'm not about that. So, whatever. But, with that being said, if you got any questions, go ahead and throw them in the comments box below. Go ahead and give me your opinion and stuff in the comments. A lot of questions that are asked are later answered by good perspectives of guys that have been commenting on this channel for a while now. And I appreciate the help in all forms. I really do. Because, as you guys can imagine, the inbox is just stacked, and it takes me forever to get to them. And sometimes I'm answering a small question like 2 or 3 months out because I could have just missed you or something. You know, it gets to be kind of a pain sometimes because you're just trying to keep up. But with that being said, remember guys, a regular guy's firearm is the last defense against tyranny. Be easy.